The car my company gave me for delivery broke down 2 blocks from the address, so I ended up running with 3 pizza boxes stacked in my arms, trying not to trip in shoes that were falling apart. The building was all glass and steel, the place where people spent more on coffee than I made in a week. The lobby was cold from the AC, and I was sweating through my work shirt. Security barely looked at me before waving me toward the elevator, 28th floor. I rode up alone, shifting the pizza boxes to get a better grip, checking my phone to see how late I was. Marco would be pissed I wasn't home yet to make dinner. The elevator doors opened right into the penthouse hallway. Soft lighting, expensive art on the walls, carpet so thick I couldn't hear my own footsteps. I found the door and knocked. It opened almost immediately. The guy standing there was shirtless, tattoos covering his arms and chest, a silver chain catching the light from inside the apartment. He was tall, built like someone who actually used the gym membership instead of just paying for it. His eyes met mine first, dark, intense, then dropped to the pizza boxes, then back to my face. I opened my mouth to say something about his order, but the words died in my throat. His whole body went still. Not the kind of still where someone's relaxed. The kind where every muscle locks up because they're trying not to move. His eyes had landed on my neck. I felt it the second I realized. My collar had shifted when I was running. The bruises were showing. The ones Marco left 3 days ago when I said I needed to study instead of going to his poker game. Who did this to you? It wasn't a question. It was a demand, low and rough, like he was barely keeping something contained. I froze. My hand shot up automatically, pulling my collar back into place, fingers shaking. Your pizzas, sir. That'll be $47.50. He didn't move. Didn't reach for the boxes. Didn't even look at them. His jaw was so tight I could see the muscle jumping. His hands flexed at his sides, opening and closing like he was trying to squeeze something that wasn't there. And he was shaking. Just slightly, but I noticed. Like he was holding himself back from something. We stood there in the doorway, the pizza boxes between us getting heavier by the second, and I couldn't look away from his face. There was something in his eyes that scared me, but not because I thought he'd hurt me. It was deeper than that. Darker. Grief. That's what it was. And rage right behind it. I've seen those marks before. His voice dropped lower, almost dangerous, but somehow I knew it wasn't aimed at me. On someone I couldn't save. He reached into his pocket slowly, deliberately, like he was trying not to spook me. Pulled out a business card. His hand was trembling when he held it out. I stared at it, my heart pounding so hard I thought he might hear it. You will call this number. He placed the card carefully on top of the pizza boxes. You will tell me everything. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. He leaned in slightly, his eyes locked on mine. This is not a request, Lila. My name. He'd read it off the receipt. This is your last chance to choose life. The words hit me like a slap. Choose life. Like he knew. Like he could see exactly how many times I'd thought about what it would be like if I just didn't wake up one morning. How many times had I stood in the bathroom at 3 a.m., staring at Marco's sleeping pills, doing the math. Part of me wanted to run. Grab the money, forget the pizza, and get out of there as fast as possible. But another part, a part one didn't even know existed anymore, wanted to stay. Wanted to tell him everything. Wanted someone, anyone, to see me. Really see me. This wasn't some random guy trying to play hero. I could tell. This was personal for him. Someone he loved had marks like mine once. And he couldn't save them. My hands were shaking when I picked up the card. It was simple, expensive feeling. Just a phone number. Nothing else. I have to go. My voice came out barely above a whisper. My boyfriend is waiting. The change in his expression was immediate. His whole face darkened, something cold and lethal sliding into place. He's the one who did this? I didn't answer. Couldn't. But my silence said everything. Craig, I didn't even know his name yet, but somehow it felt like I did. Took a step back, giving me space. But his voice stayed firm, controlled. When he goes too far, and he will, you call that number. Day or night. He paused, making sure I was listening. I won't ask twice. I nodded barely and turned toward the elevator, still holding the pizza boxes because I forgot to get the money, and he forgot to give it, and none of that mattered anymore. The elevator doors closed, and I finally let myself breathe. I looked down at the card in my hand. Just a phone number. 10 digits that felt like they weighed 1,000 pounds. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Marco, where are you? My stomach dropped. I shoved the card deep into my jeans pocket, pushed it all the way to the bottom, where I kept my emergency $20 bill that Marco didn't know about. The elevator descended floor by floor, and I caught my reflection in the polished metal doors. Tired. That's what I looked like. Exhausted in a way that sleep couldn't fix. The bruises on my neck were hidden again, but I knew they were there. I always knew they were there. Trapped. But something had shifted in the last 5 minutes. Something small but real. For the first time in months, maybe years, someone had actually seen me. Not the version of me that smiled and said, "I'm fine," when I wasn't. Not the version that made excuses for Marco's temper or why I always wore long sleeves in summer. Someone saw the truth. And instead of looking away like everyone else did, he'd offered me a way out. The elevator reached the lobby. The doors opened. I stepped out into the cold AC, the card burning a hole in my pocket. I didn't throw it away. 3 weeks passed, and I didn't call the number. The card stayed in my pocket, moved from my jeans to my work pants to my jeans again, getting softer at the edges from being folded and unfolded. I'd take it out sometimes when Marco was at work, just stare at those 10 digits like they were a math problem I couldn't solve. I told myself I didn't need it. That things would get better. Marco was just stressed about money. I was sitting at our kitchen table working on my thesis. 2 years of research on women's labor movements in the 1940s. When I heard his keys in the door, my stomach dropped. He wasn't supposed to be home for another 3 hours. The door slammed open, and Marco stumbled in, and I could smell the whiskey from across the room. "Hey, baby." I kept my voice light, casual. "You're home early." He didn't answer, just stood there swaying slightly, his eyes unfocused and mean. This was bad. This was the drunk who picked fights about nothing and remembered everything wrong. Who was he? My hands froze on my laptop keyboard. Who was who? Don't play stupid with me, Lila. He walked closer, and I could see his shirt was stained, his knuckles bruised. He'd been in a fight. Lost money at poker again, probably. That penthouse delivery. 3 weeks ago. The one where you were late. Marco, it was just a delivery. Just a delivery? He laughed sharp and ugly. You were gone for 45 minutes. For one pizza? The car broke down, I told you. He grabbed my wrist so hard I gasped, yanking me out of my chair. You think I'm stupid? You think you can lie to me? I'm not lying. My voice came out higher than I wanted. Nothing happened, I swear. His eyes landed on the papers spread across the table. My thesis. Printed sources, handwritten notes, and my laptop with 3 chapters drafted. This. He shoved me aside, grabbed a handful of pages. This is why you don't have time for me? This stupid paper. Marco, please. He started ripping. Just tearing the pages in half, then quarters, letting the pieces fall like snow. No. I lunged for him, trying to grab the papers. Stop. That's 2 years of work. He shoved me hard enough that I stumbled back against the counter. Then he picked up my laptop with everything on it, all my research, all my drafts, and raised it over his head. Please, Marco, that's my entire thesis. I need it to graduate. He threw it, just hurled it across the room. It hit the wall, and I heard something crack, watched the screen go black. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. That was everything. Everything I'd worked for, every late night, every source I'd tracked down. Marco's hand closed around my throat. He slammed me against the wall so hard my teeth rattled. His face was inches from mine, his breath hot and sour. You need me. Spit hit my face as he talked. Not some degree. Not some job. Me. His fingers squeezed. Tighter than they ever had before. I clawed at his hands, but he was so much stronger, and the room was starting to go dark at the edges, gray creeping in from all sides. This was it. This was how I died. In our shitty apartment, over a pizza delivery and a history degree, because I thought I could have something that was mine. He let go. I collapsed, gasping, throat on fire. But he wasn't done. He grabbed my right hand, my writing hand, and pulled my fingers back. You're not going anywhere. You're not finishing this degree. The pressure increased. My fingers bent at an angle they weren't supposed to bend, and I heard myself making sounds I didn't recognize. Let's see you write your precious thesis with broken hands. Something snapped inside me. Not my fingers, though they were close. Something deeper. Some last thread of hope that he'd change, that this would get better, that I could fix this if I just tried hard enough. He was going to kill me. Maybe not today, but soon. And I'd let him because I was too scared and too tired to do anything else. Please, I whispered. Please stop. Marco's eyes were empty, like he couldn't even hear me anymore. Then he let go and stumbled to the couch, mumbling something about teaching me a lesson. Within minutes, he was passed out, snoring like nothing had happened. I stayed frozen against the wall for a long time. My throat felt crushed. My fingers throbbed. The pieces of my thesis were scattered across the floor like confetti. Then I moved. Fast and quiet, I grabbed my phone, my wallet, ran to the bathroom, and locked the door with shaking hands. The card was still in my pocket, soft and worn. I pulled it out and stared at it. My thesis was destroyed. My future was gone. And Marco was getting worse, not better. The card blurred as my hands shook. I heard Marco stirring in the other room, groaning. My time was running out. I typed the number into my phone, stared at the empty text message. What was I supposed to say? Help. Please. I'm sorry I waited so long. Then I remembered what Craig said. About someone he couldn't save. I typed one word, mother. 3 dots appeared immediately. Like he'd been waiting. Address. Now. My fingers were trembling so hard I had to retype my address twice. His response came in seconds. Stay in the bathroom. Lock the door. I'm coming. Then another text. You chose life, Lila. I've got you now. I slid down to the bathroom floor, pulling my knees to my chest. The tile was cold against my back. I could hear Marco moving around out there, his footsteps heavy and uneven. Lila. His voice was still slurred. Where'd you go? I didn't answer. Just stared at my phone, at Craig's last message. Lila. Louder now. Angry. Answer me. His footsteps came closer. The bathroom door handle rattled. Lila. Open this door right now. I pressed myself further into the corner, making myself small. My throat hurt. My fingers hurt. Everything hurt. He started banging on the door. I'm not playing games. Open it. 20 minutes felt like hours. Every second stretched out, each bang on the door making me flinch. Marco was yelling threats now, things he'd do when he got the door open, how I was going to be sorry. Then I heard it. Another knock. Different. At the apartment door. Marco's footsteps moved away from the bathroom. I heard the door open. Who the hell are you? Marco's voice was aggressive, posturing. Craig Martin. The voice was calm, controlled. I'm here for Lila. Marco laughed. Actually laughed. She's my girlfriend. Get lost. That wasn't a request. There were sounds of a struggle. Furniture scraping. Marco yelling. Then a heavy thud and silence. A gentle knock on the bathroom door. Lila. It's Craig. You're safe now. Open the door. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely turn the lock. I opened it just a crack, peered out. Craig was standing there, still in a suit like he'd come straight from somewhere important. His face was controlled, but I could see the rage in his eyes, barely contained. Behind him, Marco was on the floor with 2 huge men holding him down. Pack what you need. Craig's voice was soft, like he was talking to something wild that might run. You're leaving. I just stood there. Couldn't move. Couldn't process what was happening. Craig made some gesture, and a woman appeared, blonde, professional-looking, who came into the bathroom and gently took my arm. Come on, honey. Let's get your things. We moved past Marco, who was screaming now. You can't do this. She's mine. I'll call the cops. I'll. Craig crouched down to Marco's level. His voice was quiet, but I heard every word. She was never yours, and you'll never touch her again. The woman helped me pack. My hands were useless, still shaking. She grabbed clothes, toiletries, and my ruined laptop. Found my emergency money. The whole time, Marco kept screaming threats. Then we were in a car, expensive leather seats, dark windows. Craig was in the back seat with me, but he kept his distance, didn't crowd me. One of the big guys was driving. Where are we going? My voice came out rough, broken. My estate. You'll be safe there. I turned to look at him. Really look at him. Why are you doing this? Craig was quiet for a long time. Long enough that I thought he wouldn't answer. Then, because my father did the same thing to my mother. His voice was flat, controlled. And I was 10 years old when I found her body. Everything stopped. The car, the world, my heart. I couldn't save her. He looked at me, and I saw something raw in his eyes. But I can save you. I realized then what I was to him. Not just some random delivery girl he felt sorry for. I was his second chance. His do-over. The girl he could save because he couldn't save the woman who mattered most. I was filling a hole in his soul he'd carried for decades. And I didn't know if that scared me or saved me. I woke up not knowing where I was. The room was too quiet, the bed too soft, the ceiling too high. Then it all came back, Craig, Marco, the escape. The estate. I was safe. There was a soft knock on the door. I tensed automatically, then remembered, locked door. No one could get in. Miss Lila? A woman's voice gentle. I have breakfast for you. I unlocked the door and opened it a crack. A woman in her 50s stood there with a tray, a warm smile on her face. Mr. Martin wanted to make sure you ate. He's in meetings all day. She set the tray on the table by the window. I'm Maria. If you need anything at all, just pick up the phone. She left before I could figure out what to say. The breakfast was perfect. Eggs cooked the way I liked them, toast, fruit, coffee that actually tasted like coffee instead of the cheap instant stuff I'd been living on. There was even a small vase with a single rose. I ate slowly, watching the gardens through the window. In daylight, the estate was even more impressive. Perfectly manicured lawns, flower beds, and a fountain I could just barely see in the distance. This was my life now, at least for a while. I spent the morning exploring. The house was massive, but it didn't feel cold or empty. There were photos on tables, worn spots on the furniture, and books left open like someone had just been reading them. It felt lived in. Real. I found my way back to the library and lost myself in the shelves. History, literature, and philosophy. Then I found a section that made me stop. Books on trauma recovery. Domestic violence. Women's history, specifically focused on abuse survivors throughout different time periods. Craig had built this collection intentionally. This wasn't just a rich guy's library. This was a resource. On the desk was a laptop I hadn't noticed last night. And a note. For your thesis. Password is New Start. See. My hands shook as I opened it. Brand new, expensive, loaded with everything I could need. And when I logged in, I found research databases already bookmarked. All my lost sources. And more academic resources I'd never been able to afford before. Journals that cost hundreds of dollars a year for access. He'd given me everything back. Better than before. I sat down and cried for the second time in 12 hours. The rest of the day, I kept noticing things. Small things. In the kitchen, there was a canister of my favorite tea. The expensive kind I only bought for myself once a year as a treat. How did he know? The clothes in the closet weren't just my size. They were in colors I actually liked. Soft blues and greens, nothing flashy. When I went back to my room in the afternoon, there was a heating pad outside the door. My back had been killing me since Marco slammed me against the wall, and I'd been trying to hide how much it hurt. These weren't grand gestures. These were quiet observations. Someone paying attention to details that most people never notice. I met more of Craig's staff throughout the day. Maria brought lunch, chatting easily about the estate, the gardens, and how long she'd worked here. She was warm, maternal, almost. Mr. Martin doesn't usually have guests, she said as she set down the tray. You must be special. I didn't know what to say to that. The head of security was different. James. Tall, solid, with eyes that missed nothing. I caught him watching me a few times, and it wasn't friendly. It was assessing, like he was trying to figure out if I was a threat. I probably would have been more nervous about it if I weren't so exhausted. Evening came, and I was back in the library, laptop open, actually working on my thesis outline, reconstructing what I'd lost. The words were coming easier than I expected. How was your first day? I jumped, hand flying to my chest. Craig was standing in the doorway, and I hadn't heard him come in. He looked exhausted. His tie was loosened, sleeves rolled up to his elbows and dark circles under his eyes. It was good. Thank you. For all of this. I gestured at the laptop, the library. You didn't have to. I wanted to. He came in, sat in the chair across from me, maintaining careful distance. I'm glad you're settling in. We talked carefully, both being polite. How was his day? Fine, busy. How was mine? Good, I was exploring. The conversation felt stilted, awkward. The elephant in the room. What happens now? Craig leaned forward, hands clasped between his knees. I need you to understand something. You're safe here. That's all this is. I nodded, waiting. I'm not. I don't expect anything from you. No payment, no obligations. No, he stopped, seemed to be choosing his words carefully. You don't owe me anything. Oh, he was making sure I knew he wasn't trading protection for something else. That this wasn't transactional. I know, I said quietly. Relief crossed his face, so obvious it almost made me smile. Are you hungry? He asked. We could have dinner. If you want. I'd like that. Dinner was in a small dining room, not the massive formal one I'd glimpsed earlier. Just a regular table that sat 6, warm lighting, comfortable chairs. The conversation was awkward at first. What do you talk about with the man who saved your life? Who destroyed your abuser? Who lost his mother the same way you almost lost yourself? Then I mentioned a book I'd found in his library, a first edition history of the labor movement. Craig's whole face changed. That was my mother's favorite. He stopped, smiled a little. She used to read it to me when I was a kid. I didn't understand half of it, but I loved listening to her voice. And just like that, we were talking. About history, about books, about ideas. He was smart, well-read, and had opinions on things I'd written papers about. We argued about the impact of industrialization on women's rights, and debated whether economic or social factors drove more change. It was the first normal conversation I'd had in years. Not walking on eggshells, not censoring myself, not worrying about saying the wrong thing. Just talking. We ended up back in the library after dinner. I was showing him my thesis outline, getting animated as I explained my argument. I was gesturing, excited, the way I used to get before Marco told me I talked too much about boring shit. And if you look at the wage gap data from 1945 to 1950, you can see this massive shift that nobody talks about because everyone focuses on Rosie the Riveter and forgets what happened after. I looked up and caught Craig staring at me with this expression I couldn't read. What? Nothing. He shook his head. It's just you're brilliant. I don't think anyone's ever told you that. The moment hung between us like something physical. Real. We were standing close. Too close. I could see the gold flecks in his dark eyes, smell whatever cologne he was wearing mixed with something else. Something that was just him. Craig's hand started to reach up, like he was going to touch my face. Then he stepped back quickly, almost stumbling. You should rest. It's late. He left. Just walked out without another word, leaving me standing there with my heart pounding and my brain spinning. What the hell just happened? I went back to my room, but I couldn't sleep. Just lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, trying to figure out what I was feeling. I was attracted to him. That was obvious. But was it real or just trauma bonding? Was I replacing one man with another? Marco had been charming at first, too. Sweet. Attentive. But Craig wasn't Marco. Craig kept his distance. Craig gave me space. Craig made sure I knew I didn't owe him anything. Marco had never done any of that. But how could I trust my own judgment? I'd thought Marco was good, too, at first. At midnight, I gave up on sleep and went back to the library. Craig was already there, sitting in the dark with a glass of something amber. "Can't sleep either?" he asked. I shook my head, sat in the chair across from him. We stayed in comfortable silence for a while, just existing in the same space. Finally, Craig spoke. "I need you to know something." "Okay. I'm not a good man, Lila. I've done terrible things." I waited, letting him talk. "My empire, it's not just business. I eliminate threats." "You mean you kill people?" "When necessary. Always abusers. Always men like my father. Like Marco." He looked at me, shadows making his face hard. "Does that scare you?" I thought about it. Really thought about it. It should. But it doesn't. "Why not?" "Because you're not hurting innocent people. You're stopping monsters." Craig looked at me like I'd said something impossible. "Most people wouldn't see it that way. I'm not most people. And you're not your father." He stood up abruptly, started pacing. We can't." "Can't what?" "This. Whatever this is." He gestured between us. "You need time to heal. You need space." I felt stung, even though I understood. "So what? You're deciding what I need now?" "Yes." His voice was firm, final. "Because you're not ready to make these decisions yet." I stood up, angry now. "Don't treat me like I'm broken. You are broken. We both are. And I won't take advantage of that. What if I want?" "No." Craig's voice was hard, sharp. "You heal first. Then, if you still want, then we talk." He walked out, leaving me standing there in the dark library with my heart racing and tears burning my eyes. I was furious, confused, hurt. But part of me, a small, quiet part, knew he was right. I didn't know what I wanted yet. Didn't know who I was without Marco's control. Didn't know if what I felt for Craig was real or just gratitude and trauma twisted together into something that looked like attraction. Craig was giving me time to find out. I went back to my room, crawled into bed, and stared at the ceiling again. Then it hit me. This was the first time a man had ever told me no for my benefit, not his. Marco had always decided things based on what he wanted. What made him feel good, what served him. Even when he pretended it was for me, it was always really for him. Craig had just walked away from something we both wanted, because he thought I needed more time. He'd put me first. I fell asleep with tears on my face, but they weren't sad ones anymore. 2 weeks passed, and I fell into a routine. Mornings in the library, working on my thesis. The words came easier now, like something had unlocked inside my brain. I was writing better than I ever had before, making connections I'd never seen. Afternoons, I spent exploring the estate, healing. Walking the gardens, sitting by the fountain, feeling my body slowly release the tension it had been holding for years. The bruises faded from purple to yellow to nothing. My wrists stopped aching. I could breathe without my ribs hurting. Evenings were with Craig. We'd have dinner, then end up in the library talking. About books, about history, about everything except the thing that hung between us like a live wire. He kept his distance. Always careful, always controlled. But I'd catch him looking at me sometimes, when he thought I wasn't paying attention. And I knew I looked at him the same way. I started noticing other things too. Men coming and going at odd hours. Serious men in dark suits who nodded to me politely, but never stayed for conversation. Craig is taking phone calls in his office with the door closed, his voice low and tense. References to operations and extractions stopped when I walked into a room. My historian brain started connecting dots, forming patterns. This wasn't just a wealthy man's estate. Something else was happening here. I was in the library one afternoon, looking for a specific book on labor movements. I'd searched all the obvious places, then remembered seeing another section I hadn't fully explored yet. The restricted section, as I'd started calling it. Books on security, surveillance, and criminal justice. I was running my fingers along the spines when I pressed on one that didn't move. It clicked. A section of the bookshelf swung open like something out of a movie. Behind it was a room. Not a small room. A command center. Banks of computers, multiple monitors showing security feeds, maps covering one entire wall with pins and strings connecting different locations. Filing cabinets. A large table covered in folders and photos. My heart was pounding as I stepped inside. The maps showed cities across the country. The photos were of women, different ages, different backgrounds, but all with the same look in their eyes. Fear. The same fear I'd seen in my own mirror for 2 years. Next to each woman's photo was a photo of a man. And notes. Detailed notes about patterns, behaviors, and escalation indicators. You shouldn't be here. I spun around. James was standing in the doorway, face hard. What is all this? He didn't answer, just pulled out a radio. Boss, we have a situation. James, I was just looking for a book. I know what you were doing. His voice wasn't cruel, but it wasn't friendly either. Stay here. Craig arrived within minutes. He must have been running. His face went carefully blank when he saw me standing in the middle of the command center, surrounded by evidence of everything he'd been hiding. James, leave us. James hesitated, then left, closing the hidden door behind him. Silence. Craig stood there, jaw tight, watching me. Waiting. How much did you see? His voice was controlled. Too controlled. I looked around at the maps, the files, the photos. Enough. And I walked to the wall, touched one of the pins. A woman named Jessica lives in Chicago. Her abuser is tracked as a high-level threat. Status extracted. These are all victims? Craig nodded slowly. And these men, they're abusers? Another nod. What do you do with them? Craig was quiet for a long moment. Then he crossed the room and stood beside me, looking at the map. I'll show you. All of it. But first I need to know, are you going to run? No. Are you going to tell anyone? Who would I tell? He searched my face, then made a decision. Okay. He walked me through it. All of it. No hiding, no sugarcoating. His organization didn't just eliminate threats. They extracted women from dangerous situations. Provided them new identities if they needed them, new cities, new lives. Funded their escapes, their educations, their fresh starts. The money from his empire. And it was an empire, built on investments and businesses I didn't fully understand. Most of it went here. To this. To them. How many women? I asked, overwhelmed. 243 in the last 5 years. I sat down heavily in one of the chairs. And the abusers? 48 are dead. The rest are in prison or destroyed financially. He was watching me carefully, gauging my reaction. Does that change things? Knowing I've killed 48 men. I thought about Marco. About his hands around my throat, the sound of my laptop hitting the wall, the way he'd threatened to break my fingers. No. Craig pulled up files on the computer, showed me the system. Each case is documented in detail. Risk assessments. Extraction plans. Follow-up care. It was methodical, organized, and professional. This wasn't just about his mother. This was a full system. An underground railroad for abused women. Why doesn't anyone know about this? Because the moment it's public, it stops working. We operate in the shadows. The police can't help. They're bound by laws that protect abusers more than victims. The courts fail women every day. So we do what they can't. He pressed a button and another door opened. This one led to offices. We walked through, and Craig introduced me to people working at desks. A woman in her 40s is reviewing legal documents. This is Catherine, former lawyer. Her husband beat her so badly that she lost hearing in one ear. Now she handles our legal issues. A younger woman with a medical bag. Dr. Sarah Chin. She was stalked by an ex who broke into her apartment 7 times. Police said they couldn't do anything until he actually hurt her. She provides medical care for the women we extract. More women. Each one with a story. Each one who'd chosen to stay and help. Everyone here has been where you were, Craig said quietly. Everyone chose to turn their trauma into protection for others. We went back to the command center. Craig turned to me, his expression unreadable. Now you know everything. What I am. What I do. You save people. I kill people, he corrected, voice hard. You kill monsters. There's a difference. He stepped closer. Are you afraid of me now? I thought about it honestly. Looked at the maps, the photos of women who looked like me. Different faces, same fear. Thought about Marco, alive but broken, his whole life destroyed by a few phone calls. No. I'm in awe of you. Craig wasn't expecting that. Lila, you've built something extraordinary. You turned your trauma into protection for others. I stood up, walked closer to him. Close enough to see the surprise in his eyes. This is who you are. This is why you couldn't just let me go that night. His control cracked just a little. You weren't just saving me, I said softly. You're saving your mother. Over and over again. If I save enough of them, maybe it'll stop hurting. Does it? No. His voice was rough. But at least they're alive. The moment stretched between us. Then I made a decision. I want to help. No. Why not? Because you're still healing. You're still recovering. So were all of them. I gestured toward the offices. Every woman out there was exactly where I am. And you let them help. Craig shook his head. It's too dangerous. You don't get to decide what I can handle. I'm trying to protect you. I don't need a savior anymore, Craig. My voice was firm. I need a purpose. We stared at each other. The air felt electric, charged with something I couldn't name. What would you even do? He asked finally. I'm a historian. I study patterns, systems, power structures. I pointed to his maps. Let me analyze your data. Find patterns in how these men operate. Help you identify victims before it's too late. Craig was quiet, considering. I could see him thinking, weighing risks. Then he pulled up a file on the computer. A woman named Sarah. Husband is escalating. We're not sure when to move. Too early, and we tip him off, he gets more careful. Too late, Anne. Let me see. He showed me everything. Timeline of incidents, patterns of behavior, escalation indicators. I studied it all, and my stomach went cold. I'd seen this before. Lived this before. You have 3 days. Maybe 4. Craig looked at me sharply. How do you know? Because that's exactly when Marco would have killed me. Look, I pointed to the timeline. He's isolating her more. Getting paranoid. His violence is escalating, but the frequency is actually decreasing. That's not de-escalation. That's him building up to something final. Craig was already reaching for his phone. James. Sarah Mitchell case. We move tonight. He ended the call and looked at me. If you're wrong. I'm not. We waited. 3 hours of me sitting in that command center, watching monitors, while Craig coordinated the extraction. I saw it happen in real time. The team was going in, Sarah was being brought out, her husband arrested on an outstanding warrant Craig had somehow manufactured. Then James's voice over the radio. Boss. You need to hear this. Craig put it on speaker. We searched the house. Found a gun in the bedroom closet. Loaded. And there's a note. It's a suicide note. For both of them. My hands started shaking. When was it written? Craig asked. Dated tomorrow. We were right on time. 1 more day and Sarah would be dead. Craig looked at me differently after that. Not like I was someone to protect. Like I was someone who could protect others. Okay, he said finally. Okay, you can help. But you follow my rules. Stay safe. No field work, just analysis. I nodded. This was what I needed. Not just safety, but purpose. A reason to get up in the morning that was bigger than my own healing. Craig showed me to an office. Smaller than the others, but with everything I'd need. Computer, access to the database, and a comfortable chair. This is yours. Start here. As I was setting up, he paused at the door. Lila, thank you. For what? For not running. For understanding. I smiled. Where would I run to? This is the safest place in the world. After he left, I sat at my new desk and looked at the monitor. Case files waiting to be analyzed. Women waiting to be saved. 1 month later, I'd helped extract 5 women. I was good at this. Pattern recognition, identifying high-risk cases, seeing the signs I'd missed in my own relationship. Each successful extraction felt like saving a version of myself. But not everyone trusted me yet. We need to talk. Privately. James appeared in my office doorway one morning, his expression unreadable. He'd been watching me, I knew. Assessing. Waiting for something. He led me to a secure room I'd never been in before. Soundproof, no windows. Just a table and 2 chairs. You understand what you've seen here could destroy us. I understand. Do you? He leaned forward. One phone call to the FBI, and this all ends. Craig goes to prison. The women we've saved get dragged through investigations. Everything stops. I realized this wasn't casual. This was a test. I would never. Prove it. James slid a file across the table. My stomach dropped before I even opened it. Marco. What about him? He's been asking questions. Trying to find you. The photos inside showed Marco at my old job, my school. Screenshots of social media posts claiming I'd been kidnapped, that I was being held against my will. He's filing a missing persons report. My hands were shaking. Can he do that? He already did. What do we do? James's eyes were hard. That depends on you. Are you with us, or are you a liability? I'm with you. Craig won't let us touch Marco. Says you need to see him destroyed properly. He paused. So I need to know, if it came down to it, would you protect this operation? Even from the police? The question hung between us like a blade. I thought about the women I'd helped save. Sarah, who would have been dead if we'd waited another day. Jessica is in Chicago. Maria is in Phoenix. All of them are alive because of what Craig built. If the cops come, I'll tell them I left voluntarily. That Craig is a family friend. Nothing more. And if they don't believe you, then I stick to the story anyway. James studied my face. Why don't you trust me? I asked. Because you're still in love with him. What? No, I'm not. With Craig. You're falling for him. And love makes people stupid. I went quiet. Was I in love with Craig? I thought about our late-night conversations, the way he looked at me when he thought I wasn't watching, how my heart raced when he walked into a room. Maybe I am, I admitted quietly. Then you're compromised. And so is he. It's not the same as Marco, isn't it? Craig has never brought anyone into this. Never. His mother died because his father was obsessed with controlling her. Now Craig is obsessed with protecting you. See the pattern? Ice ran through my veins. You've become his weakness, James continued. Or his strength, I countered. James's expression softened slightly. I knew his mother. I was his father's security before it happened. You were there. I found her body. With Craig. My breath caught. I knew what was happening. I did nothing. Told myself it wasn't my business, that I was just doing my job. Tears shone in his eyes. Then I watched a 10-year-old boy hold his dead mother and scream. I've spent 20 years trying to make that right. Craig is like a son to me. The son I failed to protect. He looked at me hard. So yes, I'm suspicious of you. Because if you hurt him, I won't. Everyone says that. So how do I prove it? James slid another file across. Marco's not just looking for you. He's dangerous. Inside were photos of Marco at a gun store. Receipts. Text messages planning something. He's going to try something. And when he does, we'll have to act. You'll kill him. Craig won't do it without your blessing. He says you need to make the choice. I stared at the photos. Marco, angry and desperate and armed. The man who'd almost killed me. Who would kill me if he found me. When the time comes, and it will come, will you let us protect you? Even if that means Marco dies. I thought about everything. The bruises, the fear, the destroyed thesis. The woman I was, broken and terrified. The woman I was becoming, strong and purposeful. If he comes here, if he tries to hurt anyone, do what you have to do. I won't stop you. James studied my face for a long moment. Then he stood and extended his hand. Welcome to the family, Lila. I shook it, feeling the weight of what I'd just agreed to. Does Craig know about this conversation? No, and he doesn't need to. One more thing, James said at the door. He loves you. He won't say it, but he does. How do you know? Because I've never seen him afraid before. And he's terrified of losing you. After James left, I sat alone in that secure room, realizing what had just happened. I'd been tested and I'd passed. But more than that, I'd made a choice. Marco's fate was sealed. I found Craig in his office on the phone. He saw me, something in my expression making him end the call immediately. What happened? James and I talked. Craig tensed. About loyalty. And family. Understanding crossed his face. He tested you. He did. And I passed. Relief flooded his expression. I didn't ask him to do that. I know. But I'm glad he did. Something had shifted between us. I wasn't just a victim. He was protecting me. I was a partner. An equal. I'm not afraid anymore, I told him. Of Marco? Of anything. Craig stood up, came around the desk. For the first time since that night in the library, he closed the distance between us. He pulled me into a hug. His arms were strong around me, careful but solid. I could hear his heartbeat, feel the tension in his shoulders. This man who'd saved me, who'd given me purpose, who'd kept his distance for weeks to let me heal. He was shaking slightly. I wrapped my arms around him and held on. Neither of us wanted to let go. You're safe, he whispered into my hair. I promise you're safe. But I wasn't thinking about safety anymore. I was thinking about how right this felt. How complete. And how terrified I was that James might be right. That we were both too far gone to think clearly about what this was or what it meant. But in that moment, standing in his office with his arms around me, I didn't care. 3 months later, I'd fully integrated into Craig's operation. I wasn't just analyzing data anymore. I was leading case strategy. My thesis was nearly complete, written in the safety of his library. But the tension between Craig and me had been building like a storm that wouldn't break. We'd just completed a major operation. 7 women were extracted from a trafficking ring. My pattern analysis had been the key to finding them. The team was celebrating in the estate's common room, but I needed air. Why aren't you inside? I turned to find Craig on the balcony behind me, hands in his pockets. Just needed air. Thinking about those women. You saved them. We saved them. He stood beside me, close but not touching. We'd been doing this dance for months. Stolen glances, hands that brushed and pulled away, conversations that went too late into the night. Lila, Craig started. Don't, I said softly. Don't what? Don't tell me I'm not ready again. How long are you going to decide what I can handle? I turned to face him. I'm not that broken girl from the delivery anymore. I know. Then why won't you? Because I'm terrified. The words hung between us like something alive. He turned to face me fully. Every woman I've ever cared about has been hurt. I'm not your mother. I know. But what if I become my father? His voice cracked. What if the violence in me? What if I can't control it with you? I finally understood. His fear wasn't about my readiness. It was about his own demons. You think you'll hurt me. I know what I'm capable of. What I've done. To abusers. To monsters. Never to the people you protect. How can you be sure? I stepped closer. Because I've seen you angry. I've seen you violent. I've watched you interrogate men, threaten them, destroy them. And then I've watched you hold a terrified woman's hand and promise her safety. You're not your father, Craig. You're everything he should have been. His control finally cracked. I can't lose you. I can't fail again. You won't. You don't know that. Yes, I do. Because I won't let you. I reached up, touched his face. He flinched but didn't pull away. I'm choosing you. Not because you saved me. Then why? Because you saw me as more than a victim from the first moment. I pulled him down and kissed him. For a moment, he was frozen. Then he responded, gentle but desperate, his hands framing my face like I was something precious that might break. When we broke apart, both of us were shaking. We shouldn't, Craig said, but he didn't let go. Why? Because I want this too much. I want you too much. So take what you want. What if I can't stop? What if I don't want you to? Craig pulled back, breathing hard. Not like this. Not on a balcony after a victory. I felt rejected, started to turn away. He caught my hand. When I have you, and I will have you, it won't be rushed. I've been waiting 3 months, I said. I've been waiting 20 years, Craig countered. For someone who sees the monster and stays anyway. I don't see a monster. Then you're not looking hard enough. We went back inside, but everything had shifted. James watched us, knowing something had changed. I couldn't sleep that night. Kept thinking about the kiss, about Craig's hands, about the fear in his eyes. I went to the library. Craig was already there, drink in hand. I knew you'd come. I sat beside him on the couch. Can't sleep? Haven't slept properly since you got here. He set down his drink. Because you're 3 doors down and I spend every night fighting the urge to check on you. Check on me. Make sure you're safe. Make sure you're real. I took his hand, placed it over my heart. Feel that. I'm here. I'm alive. Because of you. Craig's hand spread over my heart. Your heart is racing. So is yours. We sat like that, feeling each other's heartbeat. I'm not good at this, Craig admitted. Softness. Gentleness. Normal things. I'm not good at trust. At letting someone in. We're a mess. I laughed. We really are. Maybe broken pieces fit together differently. Craig told me about his first love. A girl in high school who was terrified of him. She saw the anger. The violence is waiting under the surface. She wasn't wrong. I've never been with someone who wasn't afraid of me. I'm not afraid of you, I said. You should be. But I'm not. And that terrifies you. I understood now. Because if I'm not afraid, you have to stop being afraid of yourself. Craig turned to me fully. I want to try. With you. But you have to promise me something. What? If I ever make you feel unsafe, you tell James. He has orders to remove me if necessary. You've given someone permission to kill you if you hurt me? Yes. My eyes filled with tears. That's the most romantic and the most tragic thing I've ever heard. It's the only way I can do this. Okay, I said. I promise. But you need to promise me something too. Stop treating me like I'm fragile. I'm not made of glass. Craig studied me. No, you're made of steel. So what now? Now we take this slow. Craig smiled, rare and genuine. Slower than you want. Faster than I'm comfortable with. We fell asleep on that couch, just talking until the words ran out. I woke with my head on his chest, his arm around me, both of us fully clothed. His hand moved in my hair. You're awake. For about an hour. Why didn't you move? Didn't want to wake you. We lay there, neither wanting to break the spell. Then James knocked on the library door. Boss, we have a situation. Craig sat up immediately. What kind of situation? Marco. He's been spotted in the city. I went cold. In the security room, James pulled up surveillance footage. Marco, looking disheveled and angry, was outside my old apartment. When was this? 2 hours ago. James showed more footage. He's not alone. 2 other men. He's hired help. Craig's expression went dark. For what? Best guess? He's planning to come here. Increase security, Craig ordered. Lila, you stay in the safe room until. No. Everyone looked at me. I'm not hiding. Not anymore. He's coming for me. I should be here when he does. Absolutely not, Craig said. It's not your choice. The hell it isn't. You're under my protection. I'm not your property, Craig. The room went silent. Craig's fists clenched. That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean? I mean, I can't watch you put yourself in danger. Why? Because you care about me? Because I love you. The words echoed in the room. Craig looked shocked. He'd said it. You love me? Yes. And that's why you can't do this. I walked to him, ignoring everyone else. I love you too. Which is exactly why I have to do this. This doesn't end until Marco is dealt with. Until I face him. I can't lose you. You won't. Because you'll be there. Craig was torn. Finally. You don't leave my sight. Not for a second. Okay. And if things go wrong, you run. I'll run if you run. Craig almost smiled. Deal. Evening came. Security was at maximum. I sat in the library with Craig. Are you scared? He asked. Terrified. Good. Fear keeps you alive. He pulled me close. After tonight, one way or another, it's over. And then we figure out what normal looks like. He kissed me, different from before. Not desperate or afraid. Certain. I love you, he said again. I love you too. An alarm sounded. Movement at the east gate. James's voice came over the radio. Craig stood, pulled me up. Stay behind me. Always. Always. On the monitors, we watched Marco and his men cutting through the fence. Last chance to change your mind, Craig told me. I'm not changing my mind. He nodded. Then let's end this. Through the monitors, we watched Marco coming closer, a gun in his hand, rage on his face. This was it. The final confrontation. Marco and his men cut through the fence. Security let them come, controlled entry. Craig's team was positioned, watching. I stood in the main house with Craig and James, heart pounding. Here we go, James muttered. Marco made it to the house, shouting. Lila, I know you're in there. His voice was raw, broken. Different from the Marco I remembered. Come out. We need to talk. Craig's jaw tightened. His hand was on his weapon, but he hadn't drawn it yet. Outside, Marco's men were getting nervous. They knew this was a trap. James's team surrounded them quickly. Drop your weapons, James ordered through a speaker. They complied immediately. But Marco kept coming. He started shooting at windows. Glass shattered. I flinched but didn't hide. Let me talk to him, I said. Absolutely not. Marco reached the main door, kicked it, and shot the lock. Craig's security could have stopped him. But Craig wanted him inside. Wanted this to end properly. The door swung open. Marco entered, gun raised. He saw Craig first. Where is she? She's not yours anymore, Craig said calmly. The fuck she isn't. I made her. She's nothing without me. She's everything without you. I stepped into view against Craig's warning look. Marco. He spun, gun pointing at me. There you are. My Lila. I'm not your anything. He looked terrible. Weeks of drinking, not sleeping. His eyes were wild, unfocused. You left me. You destroyed my life. You destroyed your own life. I loved you. You hurt me. Over and over. I was trying to make you better. Make you worthy of me. The delusion in his words made me sick. We can fix this. Just come home, he said. I am home. With him? He looked at Craig with pure hatred. I'll kill you both first. Craig hadn't moved, hadn't drawn his weapon. Absolute control. But I could see the tension in his body, the violence waiting. You won't touch her, Craig said quietly. Watch me. Marco advanced. Craig moved faster than seemed possible, stepping between us. Last chance. Walk away. Fuck you. Marco swung the gun toward Craig. Craig disarmed him in 2 moves, professional, efficient. The gun skittered across the floor. Marco threw a wild punch. Craig caught it, twisted, and had Marco on his knees within seconds. Craig could snap his neck easily. But he didn't. Lila, Craig said, voice strained. It's your choice. Always yours. Marco was crying now. Please, Lila. Please. I'm sorry. I'll change. I looked at him. This man who'd controlled me, hurt me, and nearly destroyed me. And felt nothing. You won't change. Men like you never do. Marco's tears stopped. His expression went cold. Then you'll die. He had a second gun. Hidden ankle holster. He pulled it faster than anyone expected. Everything happened at once. Marco raised the gun at me. Craig shoved me behind him. James was moving, but too far. Time slowed. Craig's own gun was out. He had a clean shot. Marco's finger was on the trigger. I'm sorry, Craig said. Not to Marco. To his mother. And fired. 1 shot center mass. Marco dropped immediately. The gun fell from his hand. He looked surprised. Lila, he whispered. Then nothing. For a moment, no one moved. Smoke from Craig's gun. Marco's body is on the floor. Then I ran to Craig. Not to Marco. To Craig. Craig was shaking. I had to. He was going to. I know. I know. I held him while James got on the radio calling for cleanup. Craig looked at Marco's body, then at me, alive and safe in his arms. I saved you, he said, almost disbelieving. You did. I didn't fail. No, you didn't fail. Craig's control finally shattered. 20 years of guilt, rage, grief, it all came out. He held me and cried. Mom, I did it. I saved her. I'm sorry I couldn't save you. I just held him, let him break. James approached carefully, put a hand on Craig's shoulder. Your mother would be proud. Craig nodded, couldn't speak. Take Lila upstairs. We'll handle this. Craig led me away from Marco's body. I didn't look back. Not once. That chapter was closed. We went to his private quarters. Craig sat on the bed, still shaking. I killed him. Yes. I'm not sorry. Neither am I. He looked at me. What does that make us? Survivors. I knelt in front of him, took his hands. You're not a monster. I just killed a man. You saved my life. You saved yourself. It felt. He struggled. Good. I offered. Yes. And that terrifies me. He was going to kill both of us. You did what you had to do. Craig pulled me up, held me. I saw his face. In that moment, my father's face. But you're not your father. How do you know? Because your father killed someone he was supposed to protect. You killed someone who was trying to hurt me. That's not the same thing. Craig exhaled slowly. Say it again. You're not your father. Again. You're not your father, Craig. You're the opposite of him. We sat in silence, processing. I need to tell you something, I said. When he pointed that gun at me, I wasn't afraid. Why not? Because I knew you wouldn't let him hurt me. Craig looked at me. That's a lot of faith to put in someone. You earned it. What happens now? He asked. Now we live. Really live. And Marco? Is gone. Finally gone. Do you feel guilty? I thought about it. No. Should I? I thought I'd feel something. Sadness. Regret. But I just feel free. Craig pulled me closer. Good. That's what you should feel. A knock on the door. James entered. It's done. Cleanup is complete. And Marco? Buried. Off property. No one will find him. I should have been horrified. But I wasn't. Thank you, James. He nodded to me. You're welcome, Mrs. Martin. I blinked. I'm not. You will be, James said and left. Craig turned to me. He's not wrong. About what? About you becoming Mrs. Martin. Not now. Not today. But soon. Is that a proposal? It's a promise. We lay down together, fully clothed. Neither wanted to be alone. Will you stay? Craig asked. Tonight. Every night. I kissed him. Yes. This wasn't how I imagined this going, Craig admitted. What? Falling in love over a dead body. He laughed, surprised. When you put it that way, we're pretty fucked up. Completely. But we're fucked up together. I'm going to spend the rest of my life making you happy, Craig said. That's a big promise. I'm a big promiser. I smiled. Is that even a word? It is now. We fell asleep tangled together. For the first time in weeks, Craig slept peacefully. No nightmares. No guilt. Just me safe in his arms. And his mother finally at peace. In the morning, everything would be different. The threat was gone. The past was buried. And we could finally start our future. 3 months after Marco's death, I officially moved into Craig's room. My old guest room became my office. The estate felt like home. I was finishing my thesis in the library, the same place where Craig and I had fallen in love. You've got this, Craig said, watching me practice my defense presentation. What if they ask about the gap in my attendance? You tell them the truth. You left an abusive relationship and needed time to heal. That's simple. That's simple. On defense day, Craig drove me to the university. James followed in a second car for security. You don't have to come in, I said. I want to. If you'll let me. You want to sit through my boring history thesis defense? Nothing about you is boring. I presented brilliantly. My thesis on systems of power and protection through history. It was personal now, informed by everything I'd lived and learned. The committee was impressed. I passed with honors. Craig was in the back, beaming with pride. In the parking lot after, he picked me up and spun me around. You did it. I did it. What now? He asked on the drive home. You finished your degree. What do you want to do? I didn't hesitate. I want to keep working with you. Are you sure? You could teach research. I'm sure. This work matters more. Back at the estate, Craig showed me something new. A wing of the house is being renovated. What is this? Your archive. He explained. All the work I'd done, the patterns, the research, the case files, he wanted it preserved, studied. You're building me a research library? I'm building us a research library. This is bigger than us now. We're making it permanent. 2 weeks later, Craig gathered the whole team. The women who'd been saved and now worked with us, James, the security team, everyone. We've been operating in the shadows for 5 years, Craig announced. We've saved 287 women. Stopped 63 abusers. But I want to expand. Create something lasting. He looked at me. A foundation. Legal, public, legitimate. I added, we'll still do the shadow work. But we'll also have resources for victims. Safe houses, legal aid, job training. And we'll train others to recognize patterns, intervene early. Who will run it? Someone asked. Craig looked at me. She will. Wait, what? You're the perfect person. You understand the work, the research. James nodded. We'll help. All of us. I looked around at all these faces. Women I'd helped save. People who'd become family. Okay. Yes. Let's do this. Craig kissed me in front of everyone. That's my girl. We named it the Sanctuary Project. 6 months later, we had a small launch event. Press was invited but controlled. When it was my turn to speak, I was nervous, but Craig squeezed my hand. A year ago, I was delivering pizzas and hiding bruises. I didn't think I'd survive. Didn't think I deserved to. The room went quiet. Someone offered me a way out. And I took it. This foundation is for everyone who needs that way out. The press loved it. Donations poured in. The foundation was a success from day one. That night, alone in the library, Craig pulled out a small box. I know I said soon. I think now qualifies. My breath caught. He opened it, a simple, elegant ring. Will you marry me? Officially, permanently, legally? His voice was steady, but his hands shook. I can't promise normal. Can't promise easy. But I can promise I will protect you, honor you, and love you until my last breath. You are my partner, my equal, my everything. Yes. Yes, of course, yes. He slid the ring on my finger. It fit perfectly. How long have you had this? About 6 months. 6 months. I was waiting for the right moment. This was perfect. We decided on a month from then. In the library where we fell in love. James would officiate. Just us and the people who mattered. The wedding was simple, elegant, and intimate. Maybe 30 people total. James began. We're here to witness something rare. 2 people who saved each other. Craig's vows. I vow to protect you without controlling you. To love you without possessing you. To stand beside you, never above you. My vows. I vow to see you as you are, not as your past. To trust you with my safety, my heart, my life. I choose you, Craig Martin, every day for the rest of my life. I now pronounce you husband and wife. Craig kissed me like it was the first time and the last time all at once. That night, in our room, officially our room, we lay together as husband and wife. I keep thinking this is a dream, Craig said. If it is, I don't want to wake up. I never thought I'd have this. A real marriage. You deserve everything good in this world. Even after everything I've done, because of everything you've done, you turned your pain into protection. 3 years into our marriage, the foundation had expanded nationwide. 5 safe houses, legal aid, and job training. I was speaking at conferences. Craig remained in the shadows, funding everything. One night, I told him, I've been thinking about kids. I think I'm ready. Craig went still. Are you sure? I'm sure. With you, I'm sure about everything. What if I'm like him? The old fear. You won't be. I've watched you be gentle, patient, and kind. You'll be the same with our child. Better, even. Okay, let's try. 6 months later, I was pregnant. A girl. We named her Catherine after his mother. When she was born and Craig held her for the first time, tears streamed down his face. Hello, Catherine. I'm your dad, and I'm going to keep you safe. Always. Standing in the safe house named after his mother, holding his daughter, surrounded by women he'd saved, married to the woman who saved him, Craig had finally healed. We did it, I whispered. Did what? Built something good from something broken. We broke the cycle. And in doing so, we built a legacy that would outlive us both. In the library that night, Catherine sleeping between us, Craig pulled me close. Thank you for opening that door, I said. Thank you for knocking. We kissed over our sleeping daughter. In a library filled with stories of survivors. In a house that became a home. In a life we built together. The Catherine Martin Foundation went on to help over 500 women. Craig and I had 2 more children. The archive trained 47 advocates. Marco's name was forgotten, but Catherine Martin's legacy lived on. In her son who became the man she always knew he could be, in his wife who showed him how, and in every woman who knocked on a door and found salvation. If you stayed with Lila and Craig until the very end, you just spent hours with this story. Your precious time invested in these characters, their pain, and their healing. If it moved you, if you felt something real, then you know this meant something. Stories like this don't just appear. They're crafted, poured into, and lived with. If you enjoyed it but won't subscribe, ask yourself why. What's stopping you? It's free. Takes 1 click. If this story was worth hours of your time, isn't it worth 1 second of action? Please subscribe, hit the like button, and turn on the notification bell. Let me know if this mattered. And leave a comment and tell me which part got you the most. What would you do if you were in Lila's position?